The night was so quiet it hurt my ears. I was 16, biking home at 3 a.m. down a narrow path through the old forest. My bike's tires crunched on gravel, the only sound in a world that felt too still, like it was holding its breath. The trees loomed like giants, their branches twisting like broken fingers against the moon. I pedaled faster, my heart thumping, because something felt wrong. Then I heard it, a whisper, soft as a snake's hiss. Say my name, Jake, Jake. It came from the trees, from the shadows, from inside my head. I froze, my breath catching, because I knew this forest. I'd done something terrible here, something I buried deep. The air turned heavy, like I was breathing mud. My bike's headlight flickered, and the trees started to bleed. Red sap oozed from their bark, dripping onto the path like blood. The whispers grew louder, angrier, saying, "You did this, Jake." I pedaled hard, my legs burning, but the path seemed to stretch forever. The trees leaned closer, their branches snapping like bones breaking. I swear I saw faces in bark, twisted, screaming faces with hollow eyes. My mind was playing tricks, or maybe the forest was. I wasn't sure anymore. Then I saw it, a creature stepping from the shadows. Its body was made of bark, cracked and peeling, with roots for arms that dragged on the ground. Its eyes were holes dripping red sap, and its mouth was a jagged split, like someone had carved it with a knife. It moved fast, too fast, its roots slithering like snakes. I screamed and pedaled, but my bike wobbled, the tires sinking into the bloody sap on the path. The creature's voice hissed in my head. "Give us your roots, Jake." I didn't know what that meant, but my skin prickled, and I felt thorns poking inside my arms, like they were growing under my skin. I swerved, crashing into a ditch. My hand scraped the ground, and when I looked, my blood was mixed with red sap, sticky and warm. The creature was closer now, its roots wrapping around my bike's wheels, pulling it toward the trees. I kicked free, my shoes slipping in the muck, and ran, leaving my bike behind. The forest felt alive, the trees bending to trap me, their branches clawing my face. My mind went wild. I saw my own body in the shadows, twisted like the trees, my arms sprouting thorns, my eyes dripping sap. I blinked hard, telling myself it wasn't real, but the pain in my arms felt so sharp. I kept running, the whispers chasing me, saying, "You can't leave, you owe us." My chest burned, and my legs felt like they were sinking into ground. I tripped over a root and fell, my face hitting the dirt. The creature loomed over me, its bark skin cracking as it reached down. Its roots wrapped around my wrist, and I felt them digging in, like they wanted to pull me into the earth. I screamed, yanking free, and my skin tore, blood and sap mixing again. Somehow, I scrambled up and ran, the path finally opening to the road outside the forest. I stumbled home, my hands shaking as I locked the door. My arms were covered in scratches, and tiny splinters stuck out my skin, like the forest had marked me. I washed my hands, but the water turned red, and the splinters wouldn't come out. That's when I felt it, a sharp pain in my chest, like something was growing inside me. I looked in the mirror, and my eyes, they weren't right. They were dark, too dark, with tiny specks of red, like sap. I tried to sleep, but the whispers didn't stop. They were in my room now, coming from the walls, the floor, my own skin. I remembered something I hadn't thought of in years. When I was 13, my friends and I had snuck into this forest with axes, laughing as we hacked at the trees for fun. We'd carved our names into one, deep enough to make it bleed sap. I'd forgotten, or maybe I'd wanted to forget, but the forest hadn't. It knew what I'd done. It remembered. The next night, I went back to the forest, thinking I could face it, maybe apologize. Stupid, I know. The creature was waiting, its roots thicker now, coiling like snakes around the trees. It didn't chase me this time. It just pointed at the ground. I looked down and saw roots growing from my feet, thin and gray, sinking into the dirt. I tried to pull free, but they held tight, and my legs felt heavy, like they were turning to wood. The creature smiled, its jagged mouth dripping sap, and said, "You're one of us now." I don't know how I got home. My feet were bleeding, and my legs ached like they were full of splinters. At home, I tried to cut the roots off a knife, but they grew back, faster, thicker. My skin started to harden, cracking like bark. I looked in the mirror, and my face was changing. My mouth was a jagged line. My eyes were holes. I was becoming a tree, just like the creature said. Now I can't leave my room. Roots are growing through my floor, wrapping around my bed. My blood is sap, thick and red, and when I scream, it sounds like the wind in the forest. The whispers are louder now, and they're not just in my head. They're coming from me. I'm not Jake anymore. I'm something else, something the forest made. And every night, I hear the creature's voice saying, "Welcome home." I couldn't sleep after that night in the forest. My room felt too small, the walls pressing like the trees had. The splinters in my arms itched, and when I scratched them, my fingers came away sticky with red sap. Not blood, sap. My heart pounded as I stared at my hands in the dim light of my desk lamp. They looked wrong, like the skin was hardening, turning rough like bark. I told myself it was just a bad dream, but the whispers didn't stop. "Jake, you did this," they hissed, coming from the floor, the ceiling, my own skin. I was scared to look in the mirror again, afraid of what my eyes might show. I stayed home all day, too freaked out to go outside. My phone buzzed with texts from my friend Sam, asking why I ditched school. I didn't answer. How could I tell him I was turning into something not human? My legs ached, heavy like they were sinking into the ground. When I walked, I heard a faint creak, like with bending. I kept the curtains shut, but the shadows in my room moved like branches, twisting into shapes that looked like faces, angry, screaming faces with hollow eyes. I blinked hard, thinking it was my mind playing tricks, but the faces didn't go away. That night, I heard a knock at my window. It was 3 a.m., same time as my bike ride. My stomach twisted as I peeked through the curtains. The forest was out there, even though my house was miles from it. Trees loomed in the dark, their branches dripping red sap that pooled on the ground like blood. The creature was there, its bark skin cracked and oozing, its root arms slithering toward my window. Its eyes, those horrible red sap holes, stared right at me. "Give us your roots, Jake," it whispered, and the words felt like thorns stabbing my brain. I stumbled back, tripping over my rug. My arms burned, and when I looked, tiny thorns were poking through my skin, dripping sap. I screamed, but my voice sounded wrong, low and creaky, like wind through branches. The room spun, and I saw things that couldn't be real. My hands twisting into claws, my legs sprouting roots that burrowed into the floor. I shook my head, trying to make it stop, but the hallucinations kept coming. I saw my mom, my friends, even my dog, all with bark for skin, their mouths open in silent screams, sap pouring out. The knocking got louder, like the creature was clawing at the glass. I grabbed a baseball bat from my closet, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold it. The window shattered, and roots slithered in, wrapping around my bed, my desk, my legs. I swung the bat, but it stuck in the roots like they were made of stone. The creature crawled to the window, its body bending in ways no body should. Its jagged mouth split wider, and it laughed, a sound like snapping branches mixed with scream. "You owe us, Jake," it said. "You cut us down." I remembered again, clearer now. 3 years ago, me and my friends, laughing like idiots, chopping at the trees with axes we'd stolen from my dad's shed. We'd carve our names deep into one tree, watching it bleed sap, thinking it was funny. I'd led the way, swinging the hardest. The creature's words hit me like a punch. The forest was alive, and it wanted revenge. I swung the bat again, hitting the creature's arm. Sap sprayed, burning my skin like acid. It grabbed me, its roots digging into my arms, and I felt my blood turn thick, like it was mixing with the forest sap. I kicked free and ran to the door, but the roots were faster, wrapping around my ankles. I fell, my face hitting the floor, and saw something horrible. My dog, Max, lie in the corner, his fur matted with sap, his body twisted like a broken branch. He wasn't moving. I screamed his name, but the creature laughed. He paid first, it said. I crawled to the kitchen, grabbing a knife from the counter. The The roots followed, slithering like snakes, and the whispers were everywhere, saying, "You can't run, Jake. You're ours." My mind was breaking. I saw my own body in shadows, my arms turned to wood, my face cracking like bark. I slashed at the roots with the knife, cutting my own skin by mistake. Blood and sap poured out together, pooling on the floor. The creature loomed over me, its roots wrapping around my chest, squeezing until I couldn't breathe. Somehow, I stabbed the knife into its bark skin, right where its heart should be. It screamed, a sound that shook the house, and the roots loosened just enough for me to break free. I ran outside, barefoot, the cold air hitting my face. The forest was gone, my yard back to normal, but my arms were still bleeding sap, and my legs felt like they were rooted to the ground. I collapsed on the grass, gasping, the whispers quieter now, but still there, deep in my head. Back inside, I locked every door and window, but I knew it wouldn't help. My skin was rougher now, like tree bark, and when I tried to pull out the splinters, they grew back, longer and sharper. Max was gone, his body nowhere in my room, but I found sap on the floor where he'd been. The creature hadn't lied. He'd paid for my mistake. I looked at my hands, saw tiny roots curling from my fingertips, and felt a pain in my chest, like something was growing inside me. The forest wasn't done with me. It was in me now, changing me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the creature's face, its sap-dripping eyes watching. The whispers told me I'd never be free, that I'd cut too deep, hurt too much. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone, replaced by a creak, like branches in the wind. I was becoming something else, something the forest owned. I didn't leave my house for days. My room felt like a cage, the walls too close, the air thick like the forest breath. The splinters in my arms had grown into tiny thorns, sharp and black, poking through my skin. When I tried to pull them out, they bled sap, not blood, and the pain made my head spin. The whispers never stopped, slithering through my mind like roots. "Jake, you belong to us." I kept my lights on, scared of the dark, but the shadows moved anyway, twisting into shapes. Hands, faces, trees with eyes. My mind was breaking, showing me things that couldn't be real. Or maybe they were. I hadn't slept since the creature came through my window. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it. Bark for skin, roots for arms, eyes dripping red, sap like tears. Worse, I saw me in its place, my face cracked like wood, my mouth a jagged hole screaming sap. I shook my head, trying to push the pictures away, but they stuck like thorns in my brain. My phone buzzed with more texts from Sam, asking why I wasn't at school. I wanted to tell him, but how could I? "Hey, Sam, I'm turning into a tree, because I chopped some down 3 years ago." He'd think I was crazy. Maybe I was. The forest was still out there, even though my house was miles away. At night, I'd peek through my curtains and see trees where my yard should be, their branches dripping red, their trunks carved with faces, my friends' faces, my mom's, even mine. They screamed without sound, their mouths open, sap pouring out. I shut the curtains, but the whispers got louder, saying, "Look at what you did, Jake." I remember that day in the forest, me and my friends swinging axes, laughing as we cut into the trees. I'd carved my name deepest, watched the sap bleed, thought it was cool. Now the forest was carving me back. I tried to stay awake, but my body was so heavy, like my bones were turning to wood. My legs creaked when I moved, and my fingers felt stiff, like they were growing roots. I checked my arms in the bathroom mirror, and the thorns were longer now, curling like tiny claws. My skin was rough, cracked, and when I touched it, I felt something move underneath, like roots wiggling. I screamed, but my voice sounded like branches snapping, not human. The mirror showed my eyes, dark with red specks, just like the creature's. I smashed the mirror with my fist, and the glass cut me, but sap oozed out instead of blood. That night, I heard footsteps in the house. My mom was at work, so it couldn't be her. I grabbed the kitchen knife I'd used before, my hand shaking. The footsteps were slow, like someone dragging something heavy. I followed the sound of the living room, and there it was, the creature, its root arms slithering across the floor, its bark skin cracking as it moved. It didn't have a face anymore, just a hole where his mouth should be, dripping sap that hissed when it hit the ground. "You can't hide, Jake," it said, its voice in my head, not my ears. "We see what you see." My mind went wild. I saw my friends from that day in the forest, Sam, Mia, Tyler, standing behind the creature, their bodies twisted like trees, their arms bent like branches, their eyes gone. Sap poured from their mouths, and they pointed at me, whispering, "Your fault." I blinked, and they were gone. But the creature was closer, its roots wrapping around the couch, snapping it like twigs. I swung the knife, but it laughed, a horrible sound like a tree falling. "Cut us, cut yourself," it said. I ran to my room, locking the door, but the roots pushed through the floor, curling around my ankles. My mind showed me more lies, or maybe truths. I saw myself as a kid, swinging that axe, the tree screaming as it bled sap. I saw the forest shrinking, bulldozers tearing it down after we'd weakened it. I'd started it all, and now it was taking me. The creature's roots grabbed my arms, and thorns shot out of my skin, stabbing me from the inside. I screamed, but sap filled my mouth, choking me. I slashed at the roots, cutting my own skin by mistake, and the pain was so bad I saw stars. Somehow, I broke free, crawling to a window. I climbed out, falling into the yard, but the forest was there again, trees closing in like a trap. The creature stood in the middle, its roots sinking into the ground, pulling me toward it. I saw more faces in the trees. People I didn't know, old and young, all screaming, all bleeding sap. "They paid for you," the creature said. I realized they were the ones who'd lived near the forest, people who'd disappeared over the years. The forest had taken them because of what I'd done. I ran back inside, my legs so heavy I could barely move. The roots followed, growing through the walls, the floor, everywhere. I fell, my knife clattering away, and the creature leaned over me, its sap dripping onto my face. It burned like fire, and I saw my own face in its eyes, twisted and wooden. "You're almost ours," it whispered. I kicked it hard, and it staggered back, giving me a second to run to the basement. I locked the door, but I knew it wouldn't hold. The whispers were louder now, and my body was changing faster. Thorns everywhere, my skin cracking, my heart beating like a drum in a hollow tree. I sat in the dark, clutching my knees, feeling roots grow from my feet into the concrete. The creature's voice was in my head, saying, "Look at what you made." I saw it all again, my axe, the bleeding trees, the forest dying. My fault, my punishment. The basement door creaked, and I knew it was coming. My hands weren't hands anymore. They were claws, dripping sap. I wasn't Jake anymore. I was something the forest owned, and it was never letting me go. The basement was dark, cold, and smelled like wet earth. I sat on the concrete floor, my back against the wall, my breath shaky. Roots had grown from my feet, cracking the floor, anchoring me like a tree. My arms were covered in thorns, black and sharp, dripping red sap that pooled around me. The whispers were louder now, not just in my head, but coming from my chest, my mouth. "Jake, you're ours." My skin was hard like bark, and when I moved, it cracked, sending pain shooting through me. The creature was coming. I heard its roots slithering above, breaking through the house. My home wasn't mine anymore. It was a forest. I wasn't human anymore, either. My hands were claws, my fingers twisting like branches. When I touched my face, I felt jagged cracks where my mouth should be. My eyes stung, and I knew they were like the creatures, dark holes with red specks, leaking sap. My mind kept showing me lies. My mom, Sam, Mia, Tyler, all twisted into trees, their faces screaming in the bark. I saw myself as a kid again, swinging that axe, cutting the forest, laughing as the trees bled. That day had cursed me, and now the forest was claiming me. The basement door splintered, roots bursting through like snakes. The creature crawled down the stairs, its bark skin peeling, its root arms dragging behind it. Its mouth was a gaping hole, dripping sap that hissed on the floor. "You can't fight us, Jake," it said, its voice in my head, my bones, my blood. I wanted to run, but my feet were stuck, roots growing deeper into the concrete. My heart pounded, but it felt wrong, like it was pumping sap instead of blood. The creature stopped in front of me, its red sap eyes staring. "You cut us. Now you grow." I screamed, but my voice was a creak like branches in a storm. My mind broke again, showing me horrible things. My body splitting open, roots pouring out, my face turned to wood. I saw the forest spreading, swallowing my town, my friends, my mom, all because of me. The creature leaned closer, its roots wrapping around my arms, digging in. Pain burned through me, and I felt thorns sprout inside my chest, stabbing my lungs. Sap filled my throat, choking me. I clawed at the creature, my hand scraping its bark, but it just laughed, a sound like trees falling. I remembered everything now. 3 years ago, I'd led my friends into the forest. We'd found an old tree, bigger than the rest, with carvings in its bark, names, dates, warnings. I'd ignored them, swung my axe, cut deep. The tree had bled so much sap it looked like blood, and I'd laughed, carved my name biggest. The others followed me, but I was the leader. I'd started the curse. The forest wasn't just trees. It was alive, angry, and it remembered every cut. The creature's roots tightened, pulling me toward it. I saw faces in its bark. Sam, Mia, Tyler, even Max, my dog, all trapped, their eyes hollow, their mouths dripping sap. "You took them," I whispered, my voice barely mine. The creature nodded. "They paid for you," it said, "but you pay most." I realized the truth. Everyone who disappeared near the forest, all those people I'd seen in the trees, were because of my axe. I'd killed them just by cutting that tree. I had one chance left. I grabbed a rusty pipe from the basement floor, my claws making it hard to hold. With all my strength, I swung it at the creature's head. It hit with a crack, sap spraying everywhere, burning my skin like fire. The creature screamed, its roots loosening, and I yanked my feet free, tearing the roots from the concrete. Blood and sap poured from my legs, but I ran, stumbling up the stairs. The house was a nightmare. Roots grew through the walls, the floor, the ceiling, turning it into a forest. I saw my mom's picture on the wall, her face twisted into bark, screaming. I made it to the front door, but the creature was behind me, faster now. Its roots grabbed my ankles, pulling me down. I kicked, screaming, but my voice was gone, just a creak. My body was heavy, my legs turning to wood. The creature leaned over me, its mouth splitting wider. "Join us, Jake," it said, and I felt roots growing inside me, wrapping around my heart. My mind showed me one last lie. Me, standing in the forest, my body a tree, my name carved in my own bark, bleeding sap forever. I wasn't going to let it win. With my last of strength, I crawled to the kitchen, grabbed a lighter from the drawer. The creature laughed, thinking I was done. I flicked the lighter, held it to the roots on my legs. They caught fire, burning hot, and the creature screamed, its bark catching too. I dragged myself outside, the flames spread into the house, the roots, everything. The forest in my yard burned, and I heard 1,000 voices scream. Sam, Mia, Tyler, Max, all the others I'd killed with my axe. I collapsed in the street, my body burning, sap dripping from my wounds. The house was gone, a pile of ash and twisted roots. The creature was gone too, but I wasn't free. My skin was bark, my hands claws, my heart a knot of roots. I tried to stand, but my feet sank into ground, roots growing again. The whispers were quiet now, but they were still there inside me. "You're home, Jake." I'm not Jake anymore. I'm something else. Something the forest made. I can't leave my yard. Roots hold me to the earth, and sap leaks from my eyes when I cry. The town thinks I died in the fire, but I'm here, a tree among the ashes, my branches reaching for the sky. Every night, I hear the forest's voice, and I know the truth. I didn't burn the curse. I became it.
If you're still breathing, congratulations. You survived another tale from Majesty Horror Story. But the nightmare doesn't end here. Hit subscribe, tap that like button, and share this story, or she might pay you a visit tonight. Don't forget, they're watching who doesn't share. Sleep tight.